Welcome to my end of the year video review in which I'm going to tell about my favorite war games of 2011. Unfortunately, I did not play all the war games that came out in 2011. I did try, but I just didn't have enough time. So there's going to be a subjective aspect, not just in the order in which I placed the games, but also the order in which I originally selected the games that I would play, just because I cannot play everything. And there are games that I have on my shelf and I think, this may be good, but I just haven't played them yet. And I have to film this review at some point. I will be playing games from 2011, in 2012, maybe 2013. So I had to draw the line somewhere, and I thought the end of 2011 is an arbitrary deadline, and that should work. Then also there are other games that I played this year that I really enjoyed and that are war-themed, war-adjacent, but they're not properly war games, and so I decided not to include them in this video. Games such as Hero of Weehawken by Victory Point Games, a political game that may end in a war but does not feature war as its main theme. Space Infantry by Lock and Load, intense brutal combat in space against ugly monsters, but as tactical as it is, still it is not much of a war game. At least it doesn't feel entirely like a war game to me. A Few Acres of Snow, very fun game, hybrid between card driven and board game, still not a war game to me. So it is going to be war games, and war games. The 10 my favorite war games of 2011. So let's see what these are. Number 10 is Dragon Rage. Actually, this is the new edition of an old game. It is a game of fantasy fighting in a sort of like siege situation. The game has two beautiful maps that portray two locations that will be siege, so you have two maps, different games that can be played there. What I really enjoyed about this game is the variety of units that you can bring in and the variety of things that they can do. You have different monsters that work in different ways, you have wizards that have spells, and you have a list of spells that you can cast when you're using the wizard. There are special monsters that have very detailed charts about different parts of their body that work in different ways, both in attack and when they receive wounds. For example, the dragons, they attack differently with their head than they do with their wings, or with their tail, or with their fire breath. So not only do you have that aspect when you're trying to attack the creature, but also when you're trying to defend, the creature can attack in different ways, and that really gives you a strong tactical feel, because you really have to choose the angle from which you're attacking the dragon or which other creature you're attacking. So I found this game really fun, a really strong fantasy theme there. Large replay value when you mix different creatures and different combinations of creatures. Really fun game, I enjoyed it. Dragon Rage, and that was my number 10. Number 9, actually this is a game that I reviewed recently, and this is Surgeon Miniatures together with its expansion Road to Carentan. These are heavy games, so I can't, oh, there you go, I can't just hold them too heavy. Surgeon's Miniature Games, this is a game that, yes, has miniatures, but also has a card-driven engine. I usually don't play many miniature games, they're not my favorite type of game, but this one really grabbed me. This is a tactical game set in World War II, a man-to-man combat. Each miniature represents a single man, and this is the cool thing, those are unique men. This is a non-collectible game, because when you buy a new soldier to add to your game, that will be a unique figure that in fact will come with a card with unique stats. No two soldiers are the same, and of course that means that you're going to have a lot of fun to get to know your men, to combine them in different types of groups. When you combine this set, the base set, with the expansion, then you really have a game that works. And it's full of options. It has a very fast pace. The card engine tells you what actions are available from turn to turn, and that on one hand creates a challenge, but you still have enough things that you can do that you do not feel too constrained. The game doesn't feel scripted. At the same time, that really keeps the tension high, because you're hoping to get the possibility to execute certain actions that turn or next turn, and there are ways in which you can mitigate that. The only minus is that this game is very expensive. expensive. The base set is really expensive, and it is not nearly enough to give you a sense of what the game can do. You do need to add the expansion Road to Quarantine, and you do need to purchase extra soldiers. It is a very expensive game when you put together all that you need to really be able to experience the game, but if you're into miniatures, if you like tactical combat, man-to-man combat, this is a very good one. Next game, number 8 in my video of the best war games of 2011. Engage. This is an independent game published by Table Tactics. This is their first publication. It is a game set in World War II, and as you look at it, it may not even look like a war game. It has a pretty neutral, pretty generic board divided in squares. It looks abstract, and the surprising thing is that this is a game that does not have any luck at all. It is not just diceless. You have many diceless war games that then will instruct you to draw cards, pull chits. Not this one. This is completely luckless. And the way it works is that it is based on a secret simultaneous selection of actions. Players have their screen and they choose how to allocate their resources. And it's really hard actually to give you a sense of how all this works, but more importantly, what the subtleties are. Like in other games with simultaneous selection of actions that the players reveal what they selected, and comparing the results you will have different effects happening. But here you are spending points from a general pool that you have that is depleted very fast, and then in order to replenish it you need to make sacrifices to leave some of your units, basically let them to die in the field, and then you sacrifice those and then you get some points back. That those kind of like negatively represent, not that you gain something from having your people destroyed, but they represent the resources that the opponent spent to take down those resources. It is a game that has incredible subtleties, and really it is extraordinary what it works, how much replay value it has when it does not have any luck involved at all. It is all about being able to read your opponent. Theoretically, if you could know exactly what the opponent is going to do next, you could win every battle, every turn, every action. But that's not gonna happen, especially if you play with the same opponent several times and then you guys get to know what you're going to do, and that means that you have an advantage when you're trying to outthink the opponent. I think that when you're playing it with a newbie, more or less you know the general strategies that the other player is going to do. With experienced players it gets really challenging and subtle. And I have to say, this is a game that, as abstract as it is, really feels like a war game. They managed to factor in a lot of theme in very mathematical ways, and the math of the game doesn't get in the way of the flow of the game. This is a game that my group has enjoyed greatly, one of the games that my group has been asking me to play most often. This was really a success in my group. Engage, highly recommended game. You hate dice, you hate luck, Engage is the game for you. Next we have, coming back, Lost Battles. Heavy box. Lost Battles by Professor Philip Sabin. This is a game that is based on a lot of scholarship. In fact, it comes with a book. The book explains how Professor Sabin came up with a system to represent ancient warfare in general. So the general model of the ancient battle, which of course covers many different battles that were fought in different times and different places of the world. But the idea is to find out what are the constants, what are the specific characteristics of the ancient battle, put them together in a system, and then to add enough modifiers and enough special rules to be able to apply that to different types of ancient battles. What you have in result is, again, just like Engage, a game that at first sight looks extremely abstract. Every time that you do not have access, you know that some war gamer is going to start worrying, but this is not the case, because yes, it may look abstract, it does not have an hex grid, the units, the counters look generic, but then the system works. There really was a lot of effort here on the part of the designer to factor in a lot of historical factors, chrome, and theme. The game really gives you the sense that you are fighting back in ancient times. It is as simple as a game, but it does give you the feel of a simulation. Yes, the battles that come with the rulebook are for most of the cases lopsided. One side is going to be doomed to start with, but that is part of the historical frame, of the historical purpose that the game is trying to achieve, to cover, to give you the sense of the historical development of events. You also have a free setup in case you want to turn the game into a more balanced one. But it just has so much fun exploring the historical scenarios. I really enjoyed the insights and, again, the feel of realism that I had from these battles. There are some elements that you do not find in many other games. There's a very interesting system to represent morale, and Professor Sabin explains in his book why that. I saw why that was such an important factor, and you have to take it into account. Simple rules, simple ideas, but they do achieve a lot. This is a great game with great economy and really achieves a great result. I enjoyed it very much. Lost Battles. And then U-Boot Leader. Where are we? I think I lost the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6, U-Boat Leader. This is the sequel, kinda sorta sequel of games in the Air Leader series by DVG. And if you watch my video, you know that I am a huge fan of Hornet Leader Carrier Air Operations. I found the game to be sublime. Now, I both look forward to a game that used similar ideas applied to submarine warfare, and at the same time I was a little bit worried because other games in the series, such as Phantom Leader, are good, but they're very similar to Hornet Leader, Carrier Air Operations. So, in a way, you have all the advantages of that game, but it may feel a little too much, too similar, and you may feel, why would I need another game that is so close to it? So I was a little worried about this. But this is not the case. I enjoyed this game a lot. Yes, you are the leader of a U-boat pack in World War II. You are hunting for allied convoys in the open sea. And what is good here is that you will find many things that you have enjoyed in games in the Air Leader series, but there are also enough other elements that you really feel that this is a different game. Not just because of the different topic submarines instead of airplanes, but, and this is the cool thing, because of the completely different pace and feel. Hornet Leader was all about getting in quick, hit the target, and run away. It was all about speed and, in a certain way, straightforwardness. You have a limited amount of time to complete your mission, and you had to make the best out of it. This game here, quite the contrary, is all about stealth. It is about patience. It is about tricking the opponent. You have this slow phases. There is this slow build-up in which you are approaching the enemy convoy. You're underwater. You are trying to figure out the best position. There is a nice way to give you the sense of dynamism that the convoy is actually moving and you're moving after it, and of course you may fall behind, you may be able to go in front of them, then you slow down and you let them reach you. There are different ways that in which you can handle the movement of the convoy, but the cool thing is really this feel that you have this slow build-up, that you are preparing the ambush all the while you're hoping that, of course, the escort vessels do not detect you. The longer it takes you to set up the ambush, of course, the more likely it is, and the enemies will figure out where you are. And then when the action starts, if it starts at all and you're hoping it doesn't start, you're hoping you sink the ships and run away. But if it does start, then all hell breaks loose. There's gonna be a lot of action, things are gonna be tough. You will see your submarine being damaged and becoming less and less proficient, just like it happens in Hornet Leader Carrier Air Operations. Then also your men start taking stress, the submarine structure takes a stress, your submarines become less effective, so you have the from the tactical aspect, then you move to the general aspect in which you really are the leader of the group and you have to figure out how to use your resources, which are the submarines that you're sending to do certain things, which are the ones that you're sending back. Very interesting situation. It does, again, give you enough of the Hornet Leader family that If you enjoyed that type of game, I think you're going to enjoy this one. And yet it is not a clone. It has a very strong individual identity, and I enjoyed this game a great deal.